the official podcast of the Jacksonville Public Library.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Hurley.
And this guest we have is R.L. Stine.
Oh my gosh, he's here.
He's here. He's here. Guys.
What a superstar. I mean, come on.
Hurley, this is well over a year in the making,
Oh,
right?
well over a year.
Yeah.
Okay, let me regale you with
Okay.
the story. So before I worked with you, Jenna, up here in the marketing department of JPL, I worked in adult programs. And we were in charge of planning the Jack's Book Fest. And this was I was working there when we did the 2018 Jack's Book Fest. So second annual last year.
Right.
So we were in charge of booking the keynote authors for Jack's Book Fest. It's kind of a process because you have to reach out to the author's booking agent, and then they give you an idea of how much that person costs. And a lot of these authors cost a crazy amount.
Like, what's the most that someone's quoted you?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I wanna know this.
It was Malcolm Gladwell,
Oh, wow.
and he was almost $200,000 for an hour.
Oh my gosh.
The man knows his worth. I respect that.
Yes, and he gets talking engagements for that amount. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane. All right, so continue with the stories.
So we found out that R.L. Stine was available for booking through Scholastic, and we were very excited. So, it was within our budget, which we were surprised. And so we contacted the agent. We got contracts on the table. Everything was good to go. Then I got an email from R.L. Stine himself.
Personally to you.
Personally to me.
Oh my gosh.
Telling me the bad news that they had double booked for the 2018 Jack's Book Fest.
Jeez.
And he would not be able to attend. He had another festival going on. I think it was in New Orleans. So he wasn't able to make it. He apologized profusely and said, I promise to come to any literary event the Jacksonville Public Library does in the future.
Wow.
Signed, Bob Stine.
This is why Hurley, maybe she hasn't said it as much on here, but she calls him Bob.
He's Bob to me.
Their first name
We're
basis.
friends. We're good friends. We go way back. And he asked us, he said for the 2019 Jack's Book Fest, because as you can see, we were able to get him for this year, thank goodness. So when he asked us to book his flight for 2019 Book Fest, he asked us to book it under Bob Stine, so as to not cause a ruckus at the ticket counter.
Of course.
Of course. So the man, like I said, he's a superstar. And
He's a
you had
legend.
the privilege of sitting down with him.
Yes, this is so cool, you guys. The night before Jack's Book Fest, right before we did the dinner and story time, I hope some of you were there. It was amazing.
Oh, so amazing.
I got a couple minutes just to talk to him, and it was magical. So, you guys, here's
R.L. Stine.
All right, well, I never thought I would get to say this, but R.L. Stine, thank you for being on Completely Booked today.
Well, I never thought you'd say it either. I'm shocked that you said it.
And what should I call you?
Bob.
Bob,
Yeah.
good? Okay,
Yeah.
Spookmaster.
No one ever called me RL in my life.
Right.
I think you have to live in Texas to be RL, don't you?
Yeah. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's right.
So your Twitter bio right now is my job is to terrify kids. And if I'm being honest, I had a nightmare about you last night and this interview. So you're still terrifying adults, just so you know. You're doing a great job.
I get to scare a lot of generations.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
a very good job.
Yeah. So when did you realize that this is what you wanted your job to be, to terrify kids?
Oh, I never did.
Yeah.
I never planned to be scary. And it's embarrassing. I don't even want to talk about it because it wasn't my idea.
Yeah, we heard
It wasn't my idea to be scary.
We heard you
It was
kind of
someone
resisted
else's.
Goosebumps a little bit in the beginning.
Well, yeah, but being scary altogether, because I was funny. I was always funny. I was jovial Bob Stine, and I wrote about 100 joke books for kids. And one day I was having lunch with an editor, and she had a fight with an author who wrote teen horror. And she said, she came to lunch and she was angry. And she said, I'm never working with him again. You could write a good teen horror novel. Go home and write a book called Blind Date. And I didn't know what she was talking about. What's a teen horror novel? So, but at that point in my career, I never said no to it. You just say yes, right? And so I ran to the bookstore and bought up a bunch of Christopher Pike books and Lois Duncan and all these people who were writing teen horror so I could find out what it was. And I wrote Blind Date. It came out like a year later. It was a #1 bestseller. I thought, wait a minute, what's going on here? A year later, I wrote another one called Twisted, and #1 bestseller. And I said, forget the funny stuff. I'm going to be scary. I've been scary ever since.
Mm-hmm. You're just good at it, I guess.
I think it's funny. It's easier than being funny.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. I think it's a lot easier. People are always ready to laugh.
That's true.
People always want to laugh. They're ready. They're eager to laugh. But it's harder to. No, I'm telling it the backwards, aren't I? I'm telling it exactly backwards. It's very easy to scare people. You just have to sneak up behind them and shout or do something to surprise them. So scaring people is really easy. It's harder to make them laugh. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And how many books have you written so far?
Oh, don't make me say the number. Don't. I'll have to go take a nap. Really. It sounds crazy because I've written maybe 350 books.
It is crazy. That is a lot of books.
Yeah,
I
it's
wonder,
a lot.
I wonder how
It's
many
a
words
lot.
that is. Oh gosh, you probably don't even want to think about it. That is crazy.
I don't know. I wouldn't know what else to do all day. What would I do?
And you're still writing books.
Well, I just signed on to do 6 more Goosebumps books.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, we keep going. It's the 26th year of Goosebumps.
That's nuts.
That's
sure
a
you especially since you didn't want to do it in the beginning. I'm sure you had no clue that it was going to be as huge as it is today.
We put out like 3 of them, I think, in summer of '92, and they just sat there. They just sat on the shelves. And if it had been today with computers, the bookstores would have just taken them off. They'd be gone. But somehow they've sat there, and then somehow kids discovered them. The secret network of kids, and they started telling each other about it. And that's entirely the way Goosebumps got started, just word of mouth. There was no advertising, no hype, no anything, just word of mouth from kid to kid. It was what an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Pretty lucky, right?
Yeah. I remember in school that it was so strange if you weren't in the library going to get Goosebumps because that's what everyone was reading. And so that's why I started reading them is because everyone else was like, you have to read these. But I was a little too much of a scaredy cat. You got me good. And I was like, all right, I can't read these anymore. I read a couple and now I couldn't sleep for weeks.
See, kids are very smart and they know if they're going to like it or not. They know. I had a 8-year-old nephew, Sam, and he was terrified of them. And every once in a while, he lived in New Jersey, and I would send him a book, and I'd say, Sam, I think you'll like this one. It's not too scary. And he called me up, and he said, Bob, you know where this book is going, right in the garbage.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Well, you did your job then if it
Yeah.
was too scary. That's hilarious. What about Goosebumps movies? Do you think there'll be any more movies?
I don't know. No one's talked to me. I'm waiting by the phone.
Yeah?
No one's talked to me about Goosebumps 3.
Yeah.
Everyone was thrilled with the way Goosebumps 2 did. Much better than anyone predicted.
Yeah.
So, and it was fun. It was a good movie. It was actually good. You never know you're going to get a good movie.
Right.
Right?
How
That's
involved are
always
you with it?
Not very much.
Yeah.
So I'm really lucky when, go see it and it's good. That doesn't happen so often. No, I'm very happy with both movies. I thought they're really good kids' movies. And maybe we'll do more. Jack Black said he's up for number 3.
Yeah.
He told me he was, but I don't know.
We'll see. What do you think about Jack Black? Do you think he did a good job portraying you in the movies?
Not at all. No.
Yeah, you seem
He
a lot.
wasn't.
Yeah, you seem a lot
We're
more.
not exactly twins, are we?
No.
No. He was actually, he wasn't like me in any way.
Okay.
And he came in, actually flew into New York to meet me, and we had lunch. And he's looking, I think he just came in to look at me, right? And he said, Bob, what in the script is true about you? And I said, not a thing. There isn't anything. And he said, well, I'm going to play a sinister version of you. And that's pretty much what he did.
Yeah.
He was wonderful. He's a great guy, too.
Oh, good. Yeah, he definitely nailed that part of it for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to know too, is there any monsters or creatures that didn't make it into the book that you kind of had?
That didn't make it into the movie?
It didn't make it to any of your books.
No.
No, I was going to say,
No,
I'm sure you've run out, almost run out of ideas.
I ran out 10 years ago. No one's, don't tell me. No one's listening, right?
No.
No. Don't tell anyone.
No one's listening.
No, everything goes in. If I think of a monster, it goes in. There's nothing sitting around.
There's no time to waste any of those ideas.
Right.
How do you keep coming up with new stuff?
How do I? I don't know. That's just what I do. It's just a lucky thing.
Yeah.
Every time I need an idea, I have one. That's just luck, I think. To be perfectly honest, I don't even try to think of ideas anymore. I only think of titles. I just think if I get a really good title, then it leads me to a story. I don't try to think of stories. And so I had a title recently, The Dummy Meets the Mummy. Slappy and the Mummy. And so then I start thinking, okay, that's a good title. That's a good title. What happens? How does maybe Slappy's in a museum. Maybe he's come to life and the mummy's come to life. Maybe they're, and that's how I get the ideas for books, from the titles.
It's probably easier to work backwards, maybe.
I don't know.
I was going to say, I feel like most authors probably don't do that.
No, I think they get an idea and they write, and then later on they think of a title.
And then the publisher changes it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do
your titles ever get changed? I guess
no. I don't know. Do they? No, I don't think so. That's my own main talent, titles.
Yeah. Well,
titles. That's typing and titles. Those are my main talent.
That's hilarious. So tell us a little bit also about your joke books that you mentioned in the beginning. So this is what you started with.
Yeah, I was always funny. That's all. I did a humor magazine for 10 years called Bananas, which was sort of a mad magazine, all in color. It was great. That was my life's ambition, to do that magazine. I did it when I was 28 years old. And it lasted 10 years. And then I thought, now what? I'm just going to coast the rest of my life. I had no idea what was going to happen. Yeah, I did 101 monster jokes, 101 dog jokes, all those books, 101 school cafeteria jokes. Here's one of my best original jokes. What do you get when you cross a dog with a frog?
I don't know.
You get a dog that can lick himself from across the room. You actually laughed at that.
That was pretty good.
You see, you're
easy.
As
I'm thinking about it, I'm like,
laugher.
okay, that was good. That was funny. I see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so what are some of your favorite comedy books or movies? Since you're a funny guy.
I like all the real old stuff. I'm a huge Laurel and Hardy fan. I have a 21-disc set of Laurel and Hardy shorts. I like all that stuff. And Chaplin and the silent comedians. I like all those people.
That's awesome. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. We also kind of want to know, I know you wanted to be a funny person, but we also want to know, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I started writing when I was 9. I really wanted to be a comic book artist. I was a comic book freak. And I drew these comics. I had this character, Super Stooge, who would fly head first into buildings. He was just real stupid. And I drew these comics and brought them in, and the kids all looked. And I'd pass them around, and they'd say, well, you suck. You can't draw. You can't draw. And it was true. I looked around at everyone else's drawing. I couldn't draw. So I had to write. But now I'm back. Now I'm writing some comic books, so that's pretty close.
You are now?
Yeah. I'm doing 4 graphic novels.
When are...
For a company called Boom Studios out in L.A. It's a series for kids, Goosebumps age kids, of scary graphic novels called Just Beyond. The first one's called The Scare School, and it comes out in September.
Oh, wow.
And it's like Goosebumps, only in comic book form.
Oh, man.
And I'm having a great time. I'm really enjoying that.
That's so
It's really
cool.
a fun thing for me.
And so you're not drawing them.
No, I would hope not. No.
Dang it. They should have had you do something on like the back cover or something.
Yeah, I don't think so. I did a series for Marvel last year. I did a Marvel character, a Swamp Thing called Man Thing. Man Man-Thing, and I did 5 books for them, and that was kind of exciting.
What is the
Man-Thing? He's a swamp monster.
Oh.
He was around a long time ago, and then Swamp Thing took the market away from him, and he was like left in the swamp, and Swamp Thing was huge, so they thought maybe I could bring Man-Thing back, but then they never called me after it came out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe people don't. I like swamp monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like basic horror.
Right.
This thing rising up from the muck, this terrifying looking creature, half human. It's like your basic horror. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, we live in Florida, so the swamp monster is yeah, that would definitely scare us here. We have swamps everywhere, and we're
True.
I remember being afraid of alligators too, and that was
You should be.
That was the swamp monster of my childhood.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so that's great. So you're doing some comic books, maybe another movie.
Maybe.
Well, we're so glad that you're here, and this isn't your first time in Jacksonville.
This is my second book festival.
Right.
I was here a while ago at the library.
Was it this library?
Well,
Was it? Okay, it was at the Prime Osborne. Okay.
oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So welcome back to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I know, we like it.
We are really excited.
I always try. I live in New York City, so I always try to get to Florida in February.
This weather.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Come
Could you
on.
believe it? What is it? 80, 85 today?
I love it. I
That's
love it. It's like
insane.
30 in New York.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is much
So
needed.
this is fun. They have 100 authors.
Yes.
That's great.
I know.
That's
all of our
really
local
nice.
authors. This is like our one time to really celebrate them and help them promote their books. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be.
So that'll be fun.
And we're really excited to have you. And Mike Thaler is here as well. So,
Yes, he's funny.
yeah, I'm excited to meet
Yeah,
him too.
he's good.
Well, that's all that we have. That's all the time we have, I think, too. So thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you, Jenna.
And
I really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, this was so fun. We're really glad that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
So Brian and I had the pleasure of meeting R.L. Stine and spending quite a bit of time with him.
So much fun. I did not think we would get that much personal time with R.L. Stine last weekend.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, he came in, was super nice. His wife, what's her name, Jane?
Jane, she was the sweetest.
Oh man, she was so adorable. They're such a little firecracker couple.
I know. I came in and he was like, "So what is this?" I was like, "Oh, it's a podcast. It's like a radio internet show." And he's like, "I know what a podcast is."
We definitely kept treating him like he was 75, but
And he's like, "Stop it."
he's like, stop acting like I'm old. I know stuff. Like I saw him the next day at Jack's Book Fest, and I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, yeah, remember me from yesterday? He goes, yeah, that was just last night. I remember you. I was like, okay, you're sharp.
At Jack's Book Fest, we had the pleasure of actually going to his presentation, which was so much fun. It was a packed house in Hicks Auditorium down here in Main Library.
Yeah, he was so good. He did a great job of interacting with the kids too.
Oh, so yeah, he was really good at it.
Yeah, because if you see his picture, you think he's gonna be some grumpy old man, but he was really funny.
No, like you said, jovial Bob Stine.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
he was so good.
He was hilarious.
He had some interesting stuff he talked about in the presentation that we didn't get to talk about in the podcast that I wanted to bring up. Like he said, it only takes him 2 weeks to write a Goosebumps book.
Right. And he was like, well, it takes me a week to do the outline. He's like, but by then I've done all the work. So it only takes me about 2 weeks to finish the book. And we're all just like, oh, yeah, only 2 weeks.
Only 2 weeks. Like that was some normal thing.
Yeah. Everyone
he just
does
threw
that.
it out there.
Like,
yeah.
everyone
it's like, no
does
wonder
that.
you've written 350 books.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, he also said he's only met Stephen King one time.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks, I guess, that they're friends since everyone says he's the kid's version of Stephen King. But what did he say? What did
He called it, he said, I guess it had been written in an article somewhere that R.L. Stine, Goosebumps books are the training bra for Stephen King. And I guess the one time that they met, Stephen King brought that up. And
he wanted to let R.L. Stine know.
yeah, and Bob was like, yeah, I've heard that before. LOL.
I also really loved, because it was my favorite as a kid as well, R.L. Stine said his favorite Goosebumps book was The Haunted Mask.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people agree with that. So
yeah, and then he told us the story about how he got the idea for it. He was saying, it was Halloween, and his son had tried on a werewolf mask, I guess, and then had put it on his head, and then he couldn't get it off. And so, like, instead of helping him, like Bob said, he ran upstairs and
started
started writing notes about how he could make it into a book. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it was perfect. So we want to thank Bob again for coming on. He didn't have to do the podcast, so it was super nice that he stopped by, and I hope he had a great time doing it with us.
Yeah, he actually, this is a proud bragging moment for us. There was one of our staff members was in charge of like making sure he was where he needed to be and helping him get around the building and stuff. And he actually told her that he enjoyed the podcast.
Nice.
He said it was fun. So I hope it came across. I had a ton of fun. I was really nervous to interview him.
Oh, you couldn't tell at all.
Yeah, but he was so nice and so easy to talk to that it just made it so much easier and so much fun. That was so cool. And we know a lot of people wanted to see him Saturday at Bookfest and didn't get a chance to, but that's never happened before where we sell out an event and have to turn people away.
No.
So to us, it's a great problem, and we're glad that we could get R.L. Stine to come. So that was really, really cool. And we're also going to have a video of our interview. So if you listened on iTunes or on your app, make sure you go to our Facebook or YouTube page, and you can see the video of us interviewing R.L. Stine. It was really fun. While you're on our Facebook page, make sure that you like us. Also, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and yes, we are on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast if you're listening on iTunes so you don't miss an episode. And also, check us out on our website for extra exclusive pictures, jackspubliclibrary.org/podcast. This podcast was produced by
Brian Thomas.
AKA.
I don't know why Hurley said BT. No one called me BT, but thanks for throwing that in there, Hurley.
It's a new nickname,
Yeah.
BT. AKA.
Producer Brian.
You want to do it, Brian?
Nah, you got this.
All right. Goodbye.